Chapter 351, 213, Luo Kyungsu is Bai Shuet. Divine plant cult makes a move again. In an undiscovered ancient ruin. Qi Qingmo looked around the empty surroundings, her delicate willow brows furrowed slightly. The ruin she was in used to be the treasure vault of Tianren Pavilion. It was a secret chamber for storing evolution resources. However, now it was completely empty, devoid of any resources. What remained was only a hint of decay from years of neglect. She knew that most likely, the disciples of Tianren Pavilion had taken all the resources from the vault while she was in self-seal. This was an unavoidable human nature. It was to be expected. It seems that before finding a way out, I'll have to rely on that junior for transfusions to keep clinging to life, Qi Qingmo murmured to herself. After speaking, she added with a self-deprecating remark, quite down and out. The world's nature's spiritual energy was so severely exhausted that evolution resources were in shortage. In the short term, it would be difficult for her to find enough resources to sustain basic survival. Before finding a way out, she could only rely on transfusions from Lin Zikin to cling to life. And it needed to be frequent transfusions. Her physical body was too strong. The blood qi power of a high-level pure-blood human could only sustain her bodily functions for a short time. That was on the premise that she didn't use her powers carelessly. If she encountered an enemy and had to go all out, she estimated that she might fall into a deep sleep from excessive consumption before even getting halfway through her move. There were significant limitations. In the dormitory, Lin Zikin sat on the sofa, carefully examining the twin light yin-yang fruit in his hands. It was about the size of a dragon fruit. The skin was striped black and white like a zebra. It emitted a faint fragrance. Touching it with his hand, he felt two different sensations of hot and cold. Touching the black-skinned part, he felt a trace of coldness. Touching the white-skinned part, he felt a trace of heat. A magical feeling of ice and fire coexisting. When sensing the flesh inside, he could clearly feel a very strong vitality bustling restlessly under the skin, ready to burst forth at any moment. He spent a little time observing. Soon, Lin Zikin got up from the sofa and casually walked to the kitchen to wash the twin light yin-yang fruit clean. Then he cut it in half, intending to share it with Shen Qinghan, giving her one half. Before giving his half to Shen Qinghan, Lin Zikin glanced at the fruit's flesh. It was also striped black and white. The pattern was exactly the same as that on the skin. It had to be said, the name twin light yin-yang fruit was indeed aptly given. Back in the living room, Lin Zikin offered his half of the twin light yin-yang fruit to Shen Qinghan, saying, "Here, this half is for you." Shen Qinghan shook her head, "I don't want it, you eat it." "Why don't you want it?" "This is the compensation the pavilion master gave you after you consumed a lot of your blood qi to obtain it, you should eat it all." "Look at what you're saying. What's the relationship between us? What's yours is mine, and mine is yours. It seems too distant to be so formal." "Relationship aside, this twin light yin-yang fruit is a resource you earned at a price, and I can't just freeload half without contributing anything," Shen Qinghan said seriously. It wasn't out of pretense, she truly felt that way. She couldn't take advantage of being Lin Zikin's fiancée to just rightfully share his resources. Sharing a little was okay. But she felt it was excessive to share half right upon seeing each other. "Don't overthink it, just eat it if I give it to you. If you really feel bad, you can compensate me in other ways," Lin Zikin suggested, as he stuffed half of the twin light yin-yang fruit into Shen Qinghan's hand. Looking at the twin light yin-yang fruit in her hand, Shen Qinghan pursed her lips, then said to Lin Zikin, "Lin Zi, you've given me too much, I feel like I'll never be able to repay you in this lifetime. We've been childhood friends and sweethearts who've grown up together, we're almost husband and wife living under the same roof, not business partners. There's no need to be so formal," Lin Zikin said gently, wrapping his arm around her waist. Hearing these affectionate words, Shen Qinghan felt a sweet warmth in her heart and nodded. let's not be so formal. As she spoke, she thought to herself that she must take good care of Lin Zikin in the future, serve him like a personal maid, and never say a no to him. Lin Zikin didn't have so many thoughts. Seeing that she had finally understood that there was no need to be so formal between them, he didn't say much more. Instead, he lifted the twin light yin-yang fruit to his mouth with a sense of anticipation. With one bite, the black and white flesh exploded in his mouth with an ultimate sweetness. The abundance of hot and cold juices assaulted his taste buds back and forth. It was an unprecedented taste experience. Delicious beyond words. And when the flesh entered his stomach, his blood chi surged like a raging storm, continuously soaring in strength. At the same time, his sea of consciousness in his brain rapidly expanded, bringing a slightly comfortable sense of swelling. It was as if Shen Qinghan's warm, soft hands were gently caressing his head. He was so comfortable he felt like he was floating in bliss. Lin Zikin thoroughly enjoyed this inexplicable pleasure. He quickly finished the rest of the twin light yin-yang fruit in just a couple of bites. Even the seeds were swallowed down. Seeing this, Shen Qinghan also began to eat the half she held, taking small bites at first. When she tasted the first bite, her eyes suddenly widened, her pretty face beaming with delight. Sweet and sour. Full of juice. Each bite was a sensation of ice and fire. It was incredibly delicious. She then started eating voraciously, forgetting her usual ladylike demeanor. After swallowing the entire twin light yin-yang fruit, her delicate body shuddered slightly. Chapter 352, 213, Luo Kyungsu is by Xuet. Divine Plant Cult makes a move again, _2. Immediately, a familiar wet heat surged from under her skirt in an instant. She had urinated. Stimulated by the twin light yin-yang fruit and naturally sensitive in her body, she lost control and the floodgates opened wide, soaking her skirt and the sofa with a large wet patch. Ah, it's all wet. Shen Qinghan looked at her soaked lower body, a look of distress on her pretty face. Ever since she fused with the Jellyfish King's genes, aside from being intimately close to Lin Zikin, she had not once urinated. But now, to suddenly let it out, she was indeed caught off guard. After snapping back to reality, she immediately grabbed some tissues, intending to clean up the urine on the sofa and floor. Seeing this, Lin Zikin said, "Let me do it, you go change your skirt. That would trouble you, then." After saying that, Shen Qinghan turned and walked towards the bathroom. However, just as she turned around, Lin Zikin pulled her hand and said, "Take off your skirt, I'll use it to wipe, it'll be more convenient that way." "Oh." Shen Qinghan responded and quickly took off her skirt, casually tossing it on the ground. Then, with her long and slender white legs, she swiftly walked towards the bathroom. Lin Zikin picked up the skirt from the ground and wiped the urine on the sofa with a few swipes, promptly throwing the skirt into the washing machine afterward. The dirty girl had a special physique, the fluids she secreted were colorless and odorless, even slightly fragrant. A simple cleaning was almost enough. No need for special treatment. Returning to the living room to sit down, Lin Zikin focused his mind and began to carefully sense his chi blood strength and spiritual strength. When he had just eaten the twin light yin-yang fruit, his chi blood roared like an overturning sea and his sea of consciousness rapidly expanded, so his chi blood strength and spiritual strength must have greatly improved. Now, to see how much they had specifically increased. "Fuck!" Suddenly, Lin Zikin exclaimed in shock. It was the first time in his 19 years of life that he had uttered the words fuck. At this moment, he was completely taken aback. Because he was astonished to find that both his chi blood strength and spiritual strength had reached the high-level 5th order. Just from eating one fruit. His biological level had jumped directly from high-level 4th order to high-level 5th order. It was simply unbelievable. Before he could recover from his shock, a startled cry came from the bathroom. "Oh my god! Ziai Chen, my chi blood strength and spiritual strength have both skyrocketed to high level 3rd order. You quickly check if it's just my imagination. Along with this incredulous shouting, Shen Qinghan, without even wrapping up in a towel, dashed towards him completely naked. Reached high level 3rd order. Hearing Shen Qinghan's shouts, Lin Zikin's eyes widened as he thought he had heard wrong. After a moment's realization, he quickly activated his danger perception to check Shen Qinghan's biological information. He hadn't expected much, but the sight made him jump. She really was high level 3rd order. The dirty girl's biological level had leaped from level 1 high order to level 3 high order. She had evolved 2 whole levels. Ziai Chen, quickly help me check, have I really evolved to high level 3rd order? Shen Qinghan stopped in front of Lin Zikin, her face full of eager anticipation as she asked. Lin Zikin steadied his emotions and said, it's high level 3rd order, no mistake. It really is high level 3rd order. Shen Qinghan jumped on the spot in excitement, clapping her hands joyously. When she landed, her shapely body trembled. She was grinning from ear to ear. Ziai Chen, how many levels did you evolve? Shen Qinghan subdued the smile on her face, her voice full of curiosity as she asked. She was well aware that her 2-level evolution was mostly due to the half a twin light yin-yang fruit she had just eaten. And Lin Zikin, who had also eaten half a twin light yin-yang fruit, must have evolved his biological level as well. Lin Zikin gestured towards the bathroom and telekinetically drew the towel in, gently wrapping it around Shen Qinghan, his voice calm as he spoke. Less than you, I only evolved 1 level. Ah? How could that be? Shen Qinghan was somewhat astonished, unable to believe it. In her heart, Lin Zikin's evolutionary talent was far superior to hers. Both having eaten half of the twin light yin-yang fruit, Lin Zikin should have gained more from the evolution than she did. Yet now, she had evolved 2 levels, while Lin Zikin had only evolved 1. This didn't seem right at all. However, she quickly figured out the reason for this. The resources needed to evolve from high level 4th order to high level 5th order were greater than those needed to evolve from level 1 high order to level 3 high order. Realizing this, she voiced her consolation. Ziai Chen, I know why you only evolved 1 level. It's because the difficulty of evolving from high level 4th order to high level 5th order is much greater than that of going from level 1 high order to level 3 high order. It's not that you are less than me. After hearing this, Lin Zikin felt a bit odd. He, who had always been strong since childhood, was suddenly receiving comfort from the timid Shen Qinghan. He really hadn't seen that coming. Thinking it over, Lin Zikin pinched Shen Qinghan's tender and moist lips, teasing with a smile, just verbal comfort won't do, you need to give some actual comfort. Seeing that Lin Zikin was still in the mood to joke, Shen Qinghan knew she had overthought it. Her childhood friend was not upset at all just now. But still, the comfort that needed to be given had to be given. Chapter 353, 213, Luo Kyungsu is Bai Shuet. Divine Plant Cult makes a move again, _3. With that thought, Shen Qinghan asked Lin Zikin to sit down on the sofa behind her, lifted the slightly damp hair from her forehead behind her ears, and said softly. All right, then let's give you some real verbal consolation to soothe the injury your heart suffered from that minor setback, and help you relax. Seeing how sensible Shen Qinghan was, Lin Zikin felt immensely gratified. The little imp is getting better and better at this. I must have saved the Milky Way in my last life to have such a childhood friend in this one. It's a blessing for 3 lifetimes. After pondering these thoughts, Lin Zikin's mind quickly shifted to the twin light yin-yang fruit he had just eaten. Before today, it had been hard for him to imagine that there could be a fruit in this world that, by eating just half, could evolve a high-level creature. It's probably a lot more advanced than an exotic fruit. It would be more appropriate to call it an immortal fruit. This shows how strong in existence the Pavilion Master, who possesses such immortal fruits and even casually gives them away, must be. Is it legendary level? Or mythical level? Or some other unknown level? Speaking of which, why does such a powerful being need to suck my blood to revive? There are too many mysteries here, and I must ask the pavilion master if I get the chance. Lin Zikin thought to himself. Night gradually deepened. Lin Zikin and Shen Qinghan spent several intense hours striking acupoints in the room. When their bodies were exhausted to the point of collapse, they left the room together, went for a comfortable bath in the bathroom, and then returned to the room to go to bed. Lin Zi, it feels so unreal. I evolved into a high-level creature before even finishing my freshman year. Indeed. After evolving to a high level, I meet the standards to enter the origin land. I wonder if it's like the bizarre world that was introduced during military district special training. Shen Qinghan said, leaning against Lin Zikin's chest, curling up in his arms, her voice full of curiosity. Lin Zikin, while skillfully massaging her body, said, "Next semester, when the school starts the New Year's enrollment and Tianren Pavilion recruits enough people, we'll probably have to enter the origin land. We'll find out what it's like when we experience it for ourselves. My discount senior sister is also on the list of alien human level geniuses. I've always felt she is Bai Shuet. Once we enter the origin land, we can confirm it." Shen Qinghan said with a hint of anticipation. She had always cared about this matter and wanted to meet the discount senior sister named Luo Kyungsu to see if she was the same white-haired transfer student she had been happy with during the second grade of elementary school. She didn't believe in such coincidences. Their appearances were so similar, and the timing matched up, yet they were supposedly two different people. She always felt that the white-haired discount senior sister in the origin land was that Bai Shui from back then. "What exactly is this origin land you just mentioned?" Suddenly, a faint woman's voice came from the direction of the window. Startled by the sudden voice, Shen Qinghan screamed and leaped into the covers, her adrenaline skyrocketing, her heart thumping wildly. Lin Zikin was also startled. But he quickly calmed down, stood up, turned on the light in the room, and looked at Qi Qingmo who was sitting on the windowsill, enjoying the breeze, and asked with confusion. "Pavilion Master, in the middle of the night, how come you suddenly appear here?" He was outwardly puzzled but inwardly cursing up a storm. Was there something wrong with the Tianren Pavilion Lord? In the dead of night, sitting on someone else's windowsill like a ghost, eavesdropping. Is this what a person who holds the title Love Immortal Master would do? Are you sure it's not some kind of pervert? Lin Zikin seriously doubted Qi Qingmo's character. At this moment, Shen Qinghan, who knew the visitor was the Tianren Pavilion Lord, timidly peeked out from under the covers, her eyes filled with confusion as she looked towards Qi Qingmo sitting on the windowsill. She truly couldn't understand why Qi Qingmo, such a powerful figure with unfathomable strength, would engage in the inexplicable act of secretly entering a junior's room at night. Incomprehensible. Qi Qingmo knew in her heart that the two would be puzzled by her sudden late-night visit. However, she did not care about this detail. Instead, she asked again, "Could you give me a brief introduction to the origin land?" Seeing that she did not answer why she appeared here, Lin Zikin felt somewhat displeased. But considering her great strength, he did not show it. He soon began to introduce the origin land to her. He said it was an enhanced version of Earth. Abundant in evolution resources. Home to various higher-level life forms. He then went on to talk about the current relationship between Earth and the origin land, stating that the situation of humanity was very passive. Constantly suppressed by creatures from the origin land, and the outlook was not optimistic. After listening to Lin Zikin's introduction of the origin land, Qi Qingmo's expression shifted slightly, feeling very surprised and delighted. The surprise was that she had lived for so many years and had never heard of such a place as the origin land. The delight was that the origin land was abundant in evolution resources, and by going there, she might find a way back to her peak. After steadying her emotions for a moment, Qi Qingmo's red lips slightly parted, and she asked, how does one gain entry to the origin land? Lin Zikan candidly answered, in Zhuzhou, above the province level, military district headquarters have biological channels that lead to the origin land suppressed beneath them. Passing through these biological channels can get you to the origin land. At the same time, in a luxurious villa in Shanghai City, a group of masked people gathered together, secretly discussing the matter of attacking Lin Zikan. Eighth Elder, didn't the Great Elder say that we should wait for his side to launch a total offensive on the surface before we make a move on Lin Zikan? A woman wearing a two-leaf clover mask spoke with a worried expression. In front of her, a man wearing a three-leaf clover mask, who was the Divine Plant Cult's Eighth Elder, said with a calm voice, by the time the Great Elder makes his move, it will be too late. Right now, the powerhouses of Nanjiang province have mostly entered the origin land. If we wait for the Great Elder to start his offensive, strong reinforcements will soon come to support Shanghai City. The correct move is to take advantage of the fact that Shan University is at its most vulnerable now and launch an attack on Lin Zikan, taking him away. Right, take Shen Qinghan away too. Do you agree or disagree? P.S. Bowing down, begging for monthly passes and recommendation tickets. Chapter 354, 214. Mysterious runes surrounding Shen Qinghan. A biological passage. After listening to Lin Zikan's introduction to the origin land, Qi Qingmo couldn't help but fall into deep thought. She tried to search her memory for any information related to the origin land, but to no avail. It seems that this so-called origin land is indeed an unknown territory I have never set foot in, she thought to herself. I must find an opportunity to enter and explore it. Qi Qingmo silently concluded in her heart. On the other side of the bed, seeing that Qi Qingmo remained silent for a long time, Lin Zikan hesitated for a moment before reiterating his earlier question. Pavilion Master, is there something urgent you needed by coming to find us so late? Not at all, I just simply wanted to suck your blood, Qi Qingmo admitted candidly without any reservations. Upon hearing this, Lin Zikan's complexion suddenly changed, sensing something was amiss. She had just sucked his blood during the day, and now she wanted to do it again? Was this Tianren Pavilion Lord really a good person? Or rather, was she not bad? Thinking this, Lin Zikan couldn't help feeling a bit panicky. He was worried that Qi Qingmo, having acquired a taste for it, would become an uncontrollable addict, and in an oversight, leave him drained dry. Dead on the bed. Shen Qinghan, on the other hand, shared the same concerns. Clutching Lin Zikan's hand tightly, her heart thudded wildly. Extremely anxious. Seeing the unusual look on their faces, Qi Qingmo guessed the two must have misunderstood something. So she began to explain, my unexpected visit tonight is because I've been traveling a long distance all day and nearly depleted all my qi blood. I need you to transfer qi blood to maintain my fundamental vitality, so I came to find you. Originally, I wanted to knock on the window, but upon hearing you discuss the origin land, I decided to sit down and listen for a while. If I frightened you both just now, I apologize. Well, that was a rather polite gesture. But not by much. If she had truly been considerate, she wouldn't barge into someone's room in the middle of the night. Lin Zikan silently criticized in his mind, then asked, Pavilion Master, can't you produce qi blood yourself? He couldn't understand why Qi Qingmo, a being of immense and unfathomable power, had to rely on sucking someone else's blood to sustain basic survival. Was there something wrong with her body? Or was it that she couldn't adapt to the living conditions of this era and was being phased out by it? Just like how the dinosaurs went extinct. No, I can't, Qi Qingmo said calmly, my evolutionary path involves refining nature's spiritual energy, and the spiritual energy of this world is almost exhausted. Without spiritual energy, most of my bodily functions have ceased operation. Unable to generate qi blood. Unable to generate divine sense. Using a bit, I lose a bit, until the vitality within is spent, and I perish with my path. Nature's spiritual energy. Lin Zikin raised his eyebrows slightly. This was the second type of special energy he had heard about. The first was the origin force. It was the origin force within the alien beings and exotic beasts. Continuing, Qi King Mo said, "Before my body is able to autonomously produce qi blood, I will need you to provide blood transfusions. Of course, I will not have you do it for nothing. I will offer compensation afterward." Compensation afterward? Listening to this, Lin Zikin felt as if he became a gigolo, being patronized by Qi King Mo daily. And the so-called compensation was the payment for services rendered. To the side, Shen Qinghan hesitated, then tentatively spoke up, "Pavilion Master, I am also a high-level pure-blood human. Why don't you take mine instead?" Just this afternoon Lin Zikin had been sucked by Qi King Mo for almost half an hour. She was worried that if Lin Zikin were to be aggressively sucked again right now, his body wouldn't be able to handle it. Thus, she mustered the courage to volunteer herself in Lin Zikin's place. However, facing her offer, Qi King Mo didn't even glance at her, simply stating, "The quality of your qi blood is too low, it's unsuitable for me to take." Shen Qinghan fell silent, pursed her lips while looking down, feeling quite disheartened. Being rejected again. Even though she had evolved to a high-level third order, she was still considered trash by the Pavilion Master. It really hurt. Qi King Mo, indifferent to her discomfort, said to Lin Zikin, "Open your mouth." "Open my mouth?" Lin Zikin wondered internally. But without overthinking it, he followed Qi King Mo's instruction and obediently opened his mouth. Seeing Lin Zikin's mouth open, Qi King Mo raised her pale jade hand, flicked her finger, and accurately sent a red pill shooting into his mouth. The red pill melted upon contact, instantly turning into strands of warm currents, swiftly coursing through every part of Lin Zikin's body, speeding up the generation of qi blood. The effects of the red pill were similar to the revitalization pill, both aimed at enhancing the body's qi blood generation. The only difference was its potency, which was hundreds to thousands of times stronger than that of a high-level revitalization pill. "Come, transfer your qi blood to me, otherwise you'll soon burst from the continuously generating qi blood," Qi King Mo stated as she had already appeared on the bed lying flat, hands crossed on her lower abdomen, eyes closed as if with stars orbiting within. Lin Zikin steadied his emotions and asked, "How exactly should I transfer it?" Previously in the basement, he had placed his hands on the bronze ancient coffin to transfer it. Now without the bronze ancient coffin and only a calm Qi King Mo lying beside him, he didn't know how to proceed. Qi King Mo casually instructed, "Place your palm over my heart, then just let your qi blood flow out." The position of the heart. Wasn't that right where her chest was? Lin Zikin looked at Qi King Mo's full and round chest, momentarily unsure whether he should reach out and let his qi blood flow out. But after only a moment's hesitation, he placed his hand there and began releasing his qi blood upon her. Chapter 355, 214. Mysterious runes surrounding Shen Qinghan II. The qi blood within his body was becoming increasingly replete. If he didn't quickly release the qi blood, he was worried that his body might burst. While channeling the qi blood, since his hand was constantly pressed against Qi King Mo's chest, he could distinctly feel the softness there, inadvertently distracting his mind. In order not to have an inappropriate physiological reaction from his distracted mind, he had no choice but to start speaking to divert his attention, asking the Pavilion Master lying next to him. "Pavilion Master, you just mentioned that your evolution path involves refining nature's spiritual energy, but you also created the blood tempering technique. Does this mean you are practicing dual evolution paths?" "Yes, immortal martial dual cultivation," Qi King Mo said calmly. Unlike Lin Zikin, she didn't feel uncomfortable at all despite a man's hand pressing on her chest. Having lived for countless ages, she had long seen through the worldly desires and was not bound by earthly emotions. Just a mere body, even if it was fully exposed and observed by someone, she felt no turmoil inside. Now, the only things that could emotionally stir her were advancements in her own evolution path. Immortal martial dual cultivation. Lin Zikin was hearing these words in reality for the first time. Previously, he had only read about them in novels. Qi King Mo briefly explained, yes, immortal martial dual cultivation. Immortal means refining the path of nature's spiritual energy. Martial refers to the physical cultivation. The blood tempering technique I created belongs to the physical cultivation practices. After hearing Qi King Mo's explanation, Lin Zikin inadvertently furrowed his brows, suddenly feeling a bit distressed. Immortal precedes martial in immortal martial. From this, it's clear that immortal martial. Thinking that his painstakingly practiced blood tempering technique was considered a lower form of martial compared to immortal. Lin Zikin suddenly lost all interest in pursuing the pure-blood human path, feeling utterly demotivated. Seeing his furrowed brow, Qi King Mo guessed what he was thinking and said indifferently, the two paths of immortal martial have no ranks, just different directions. Immortal focuses on the law. Martial focuses on the body. Although the directions differ, the ultimate end of these evolution paths is the same. The only difference is that each has its own strengths and weaknesses during the evolution process. Which path to follow depends on what suits one's self. However, for the majority of living beings, pursuing the path of refining spiritual energy is much easier than the path of physical cultivation. Therefore, in the era I came from, most of the powerful beings followed the path of refining spiritual energy. After hearing this from Qi King Mo, Lin Zikin couldn't help but wonder, Pavilion Master, if the ultimate end of evolution paths is the same, then one should solely focus on one path, right? Why practice dual cultivation and divide one's energies? Qi King Mo, what you say is correct, dual cultivation indeed divides one's energies and may not be worth it. Lin Zikin, then why? Qi King Mo, because back then, the spiritual energy was becoming increasingly scarce. Evolvers who initially followed the path of refining nature's spiritual energy, later had to switch to physical cultivation, being forced into immortal martial dual cultivation. Otherwise, they would perish during the imminent age of dusk. After speaking, Qi King Mo sighed, and I was one of those evolvers forced into immortal martial dual cultivation. So there was this secret. Lin Zikin felt he had discovered a significant secret. At the same time, many questions cleared up in his mind. First, Qi King Mo created the blood tempering technique, likely not out of concern for ordinary humans oppressed by the strong, but as a means for her own escape. The records in the relics were wrong. Second, the era of the gods that Lu Chuanwu previously mentioned probably did exist. This era of the gods must refer to the era in which Qi King Mo lived. The reason the immortal gods from that era faded into oblivion over time was probably because Earth entered the age of dusk with depleted spiritual energy, making their existence unsustainable. They then either, like Qi King Mo, chose self-sealing to survive or perished. Wait. The depletion of spiritual energy affected those who followed the path of refining spiritual energy, but where did all those who cultivated their physical form go? Why, with Earth being attacked by beings from the origin land so many times, haven't these physical cultivators appeared to defend it? Lin Zikin was perplexed and could only ask Qi King Mo, Pavilion Master, if it's as you said, then there should still be many physical cultivators existing on Earth, but in reality, there are none. How is this possible? Qi King Mo explained, the depletion of spiritual energy affected not only those who walked the path of refining spiritual energy but all beings living in the era of spiritual qi. This is also why, after I resurrected from the bronze ancient coffin, I still need you to channel your qi blood for me to survive. Even those who followed the path of physical cultivation couldn't survive in the age of dusk devoid of spiritual energy. After reflecting for a moment, Lin Zikin came to this conclusion. So you mean, with the arrival of the age of dusk, all the beings from your era are doomed unless they manage to self-seal like you did. Qi King Mo, that's indeed the case if they can't self-seal as I have. Lin Zikin, so, does that mean that presently, Earth's relics might still have many spiritual era powerhouses in self-sealing. Qi King Mo negated, that's not the case. Those who can remain self-sealed for years without decay are ultimately very rare. Chapter 356, 214. The mysterious runes _3 surrounding Shen King Han. With these words, she continued, the praise I speak of is not self-flattery. Even in that era of immortal gods, filled with spiritual energy, I was among the top most powerful beings. To survive through self-sealing like I did, and live on until the coming of a new life in the era of spiritual Qi on earth, that would probably be a handful at most. Lin Zikan believed what Qi King Mo had said. If there were many strong beings from the era of spiritual energy like Qi King Mo, there wouldn't only be one Qi King Mo who had awakened now. In the time that followed, Lin Zikan was transfusing blood to Qi King Mo while pestering her with questions about the era of spiritual energy. No matter what he asked, Qi King Mo patiently gave Lin Zikan answers to each. After all, she was currently relying on Lin Zikan's blood, and since she accepted his help, she couldn't afford to appear impatient. During their question and answer session, Shen King Han, who was sitting on the bed, remained silent the entire time, listening and looking exceptionally well behaved. Unconsciously, 6 hours had passed by. The sky outside the window had gradually shifted from pitch black, where one couldn't see their hand in front of them, to a faint light. The three people in the room had not slept. It was the same as it had been 6 hours ago. Lin Zikan was still transfusing blood to Qi King Mo whilst constantly asking her questions. Qi King Mo was still drawing blood while patiently answering Lin Zikan's queries. Only Shen King Han, who had originally been sitting on the side, had become less reserved, now lying lazily on the bed. That's enough, stop. You have already depleted most of your Qi blood, take a rest for a day, and we will continue in the evening, said Qi King Mo as she took Lin Zikan's hand away and sat up on the bed. She had made it clear to Lin Zikan that she would be staying here for a while in the coming days. During this time, she would need to feed on blood twice a day, 6 hours each time. She needed to accumulate as much Qi blood in her body as possible to prepare for the journey into the origin land. This is your compensation for transfusing blood to me every day in the coming period. Take it, said Qi King Mo as she conjured a glaze bottle containing more than a dozen pills and tossed it casually to Lin Zikan. Lin Zikan caught the thrown glaze bottle and glanced at the red pills inside, recognizing them as the same kind he had taken the night before. Qi King Mo explained, these are bloodbath pills. Take them to recover Qi blood quickly. They can come in handy when you're attempting to break through the heart aperture or body aperture or when you're locked in a life or death struggle with an enemy. Thank you, Pavilion Master, for your gracious gift. Don't mention it, this isn't a favor. It's compensation for the blood transfusions you're giving me, she replied. Having said that, Qi King Mo summoned the bronze ancient coffin out of thin air and placed it beside the bed, preparing to lie down for hibernation. In the days that followed, apart from the 2 periods of time in the morning and evening when she would draw blood from Lin Zikan, she would spend the rest of the time lying in the bronze ancient coffin, hibernating to minimize the loss of Qi blood in her body, fully preparing for the entrance into the origin land. By the way, Pavilion Master, I still have a question I'd like to ask you, Lin Zikan said as Qi King Mo was about to open the lid of the coffin, suddenly remembering he had one very important question left unanswered. Qi King Mo paused, turned her head back to Lin Zikan lying on the bed and said indifferently, what question? Lin Zikan took out the mysterious runes he had recorded before, which were the ones that had swirled around Shen King Han in the coastal forest, and showed them to Qi King Mo, asking, Pavilion Master, do you recognize these runes? After a glance, Qi King Mo shook her head, I don't recognize them. She doesn't recognize them? Lin Zikan was somewhat surprised. He had thought that someone like Qi King Mo, who had lived for so long, would be well informed and recognize the runes. But she did not. What exactly was the origin of those mysterious runes that had enveloped Shen Qinghan that day? Qi Qingmo inquired, where did you see these runes? I saw them in a certain ruin, Lin Zikan casually fabricated a reason. After hearing this, Qi Qingmo fell into deep thought. A moment later, she spoke, I truly do not recognize these runes, but I remember seeing some ancient inscriptions in the ruins from my era of spiritual qi that bore a slight resemblance to these. Ruins from the era of spiritual qi? Lin Zikan was surprised at hearing this. The era of spiritual qi that Qi Qingmo spoke of was already long past. How ancient were these ruins from the era of spiritual qi? It seemed like layers upon layers of antiquity. Thinking this, Lin Zikan requested, Pavilion Master, could you tell me more about the inscriptions in those ancient ruins? After recalling for a moment, Qi Qingmo said, I'm not very clear about the specifics. I saw those inscriptions on a mural in a sea ruin. I couldn't understand the meanings they conveyed. Sea ruins? Murals? With these two pieces of information in mind, Lin Zikan couldn't help but recall the sea ruin footage Lu Juanwu had shown him earlier and the pearl shell bracelet retrieved from the sea ruin. Pavilion Master, don't hibernate just yet. I need to go to the research institute to get something to show you, some footage about the sea ruin, he said. With that, Lin Zikan immediately got off the bed, put on his shoes, walked to the window, and leaped out, heading in the direction of the research institute. Seeing this, Shen Qinghan hurriedly got off the bed, put on her shoes, and followed him out the window, calling, Lin Zi, wait up, wait for me, I'll go with you. Qi Qingmo teleported to the window, halted, and watched their retreating figures disappear into the distance, her curiosity piqued. Footage of the sea ruin? Was it similar to the sea ruin she had entered before? P.S. Laying out my bowl here, seeking monthly passes and recommendation tickets. Chapter 357, 215, Mysterious Underwater Ruins. Lin Zi, wait for me. Shen Qinghan called out as soon as she landed, running towards Lin Zikan ahead. Upon hearing her shout, Lin Zikan immediately turned around and ran back, scooping Shen Qinghan into his arms and charging towards the research institute. Their speed was so fast that a rush of air was whipped up everywhere they passed. It sent bystanders' skirts flying and hair slapping against faces. In just over 10 seconds, Lin Zikan had rushed with Shen Qinghan to the entrance of the research institute. After setting Shen Qinghan down, he conjured a card out of thin air and opened the research institute's main door with a beep. At this time, dawn had not fully broken. At this hour, Lu Juanwu would usually still be at home and not yet arrived. Song Yuan would generally still be sleeping in her own room within the institute. As a result, the inside of the institute was dim and murky. Lin Zikan didn't bother switching on the lights upon entering, and directly led Shen Qinghan towards Lu Juanwu's office. They were halfway there when Song Yuan suddenly emerged from the dim restroom, completely naked. Not a thread on her body, wearing nothing but a pair of white cotton slippers on her feet. Lin Zikan froze. Shen Qinghan also froze. Song Yuan was dumbfounded. She had slept naked last night and was just woken up by the need to pee, thinking that the institute was empty at this hour, and so she boldly went to the restroom bare. But she could never have dreamed that upon exiting the restroom she would run into Lin Zikan and Shen Qinghan. After a moment of regaining her senses, Song Yuan immediately covered her lower and upper body with her hands, took a step back into the restroom, and then banged shut the door. It's so early in the morning, the sky isn't even fully lit yet, what could these two be doing here? I've lived for so long and haven't even held a man's hand, now, my body has been seen all at once, my carefully guarded chastity of nearly 30 years is gone. How am I going to face those two from now on? Song Yuan's mindset exploded, her hands firmly covering her blushing face that seemed about to drip water, feeling both embarrassed and upset, wishing she could move to another planet. Outside, Lin Zikan and Shen Qinghan both felt embarrassed for Song Yuan inside and thought it was a total social death scenario. They had been in such a rush when they arrived, and with no light in the restroom and it being gloomy inside, they had not noticed Song Yuan at all. This inattention had created this incredibly awkward situation. Despite the embarrassment, Lin Zikin was in a hurry to get the underwater ruins recording and couldn't dwell on it. He quickly continued leading Shen Qinghan to Lu Juanmu's office. Once they had copied the recording and came out of the office together, Song Yuan, who just moments before was distressed and hiding in the restroom, now was dressed in a loose martial arts uniform, sitting on the sofa in the living area and looking at her phone. Seeing them come out, Song Yuan tried to act as if nothing had happened, but her tone was rather stiff. "What are you two doing here so early?" Lin Zikin replied, "We've come to copy the underwater ruins recording that President Lu saved on his computer, to show Pavilion Master and see if she recognizes the wall paintings." "Pavilion Master came looking for you." "Right, she said she wanted to stay in my and Han Han's dormitory for a while, to absorb more blood and accumulate energy in preparation for entering the origin land." "I see. Yuan, I won't say more, I need to get back to the dormitory before Pavilion Master lies down in her coffin to hibernate." With that, Lin Zikin didn't look back as he took Shen Qinghan and left the research institute. On their way back to the dormitory, Shen Qinghan hesitated for a moment, but eventually she couldn't help asking, "Lin Zi, did you see Yuan's body just now?" "I saw it," Lin Zikin answered honestly. That scene was so blatant, to say he didn't see anything would be fooling a child. "Shen Qinghan, Yuan is so clean, her entire body is white and tender, it's really enviable." A loaded question, hey? Lin Zikin didn't fall for it and deftly responded, "Anyone can envy Yuan except you, you're countless times more delicate than her." Shen Qinghan was inwardly thrilled by his words. Without further conversation, Lin Zikin quickened his pace back to the dormitory. Before long, they returned with the copied video in hand back to their dorm. Lin Zikin wasted no second, swiftly going to his room to get his tablet, and uploaded the copied video onto it. Then, he pressed play, displaying the video in front of Qi Qingmo for her viewing. Qi Qingmo was somewhat curious about the tablet, this technological product, but she didn't explore it, and instead focused on watching the underwater ruins in the recording. When she saw the vast painting on the wall of marine creatures worshipping a woman, her delicate and exquisite eyebrows slightly raised. Exactly the same. The underwater ruins in the recording were identical to the one she entered years ago, even the wall painting content was the same. The content depicted marine creatures, reverently kneeling before a mysterious woman lying in a shell. Moreover, it was the same woman. Where is this underwater ruin? Qi Qingmo's interest was piqued. She wanted to explore the ruins in the video for herself. Lin Zikin said, "It's gone." "Gone?" Qi Qingmo was puzzled. Lin Zikin explained, "The underwater ruin in the video was explored and recorded by President Lu years ago. President Lu said that after he came out from the ruins, he wanted to go in a second time, but found that the entrance had disappeared. He asked the local fishermen, and they all said there couldn't be any ruins there, suggesting that President Lu must have remembered incorrectly." Chapter 358, 215, Mysterious Underwater Ruins, _2. Could it be an array? Qi Qingmo mused thoughtfully. After that thought, she looked toward Lin Zikin and asked, "The underwater relic in the video, where exactly is it located?" "Not far from here, at Shuangru Bay." Shuangru Bay. Qi Qingmo remembered the name and then said to Lin Zikin, "After I visit the origin land, I will go to Shuangru Bay to check it out for you." She was quite curious about the underwater relic in the video, but merely out of curiosity. Currently, what she valued most was finding a way out in the origin land. All other matters had to make way for this one. By the way, Pavilion Master, President Lu brought back a pearl shell bracelet from that mysterious underwater relic years ago. "I'll show it to you," Lin Zikin said. After finishing, Lin Zikin looked at Shen Qinghan and said, "Han Han, Please bring out the pearl shell bracelet that the president gave you for the pavilion master to see. Okay. I'll get it now. Shen Qinghan said and quickly walked toward the room. Then, in the blink of an eye, she returned with a pearl shell bracelet in hand. Upon seeing the bracelet, Qi Qingmo's eyes immediately lit up. Without waiting for Shen Qinghan to come over, Qi Qingmo willed the bracelet to levitate toward her and held it in her hand to carefully observe and feel it. This bracelet contains such rich nature's spiritual energy in it. After observing and feeling it, a tiny flash of excitement appeared in Qi Qingmo's eyes, and she incredulously said. The pearl shell bracelet contained a substantial amount of the nature's spiritual energy she needed. The amount was so significant that it allowed her to fight with full force for 3 days. Pavilion Master, this bracelet contains nature's spiritual energy. Lin Zikin expressed surprise. He had studied the bracelet many times, feeling nothing extraordinary, and never expected that it actually contained the nature's spiritual energy from the time of Qi Qingmo. This was somewhat beyond belief. Can you give me this bracelet? I am in great need of it now, Qi Qingmo asked Shen Qinghan. Shen Qinghan could indeed give it to her, but she didn't immediately agree and, instead, looked at Lin Zikin indecisively. Whatever decision she made, she felt she needed to ask for Lin Zikin's opinion first. It wasn't that Lin Zikin asked her to do so, it was simply how she chose to handle things. It just came from being indecisive from a young age, accustomed to having Lin Zikin make decisions for her. Similarly, Lin Zikin was used to her looking for his opinion. The moment she looked at him, he decided for her, since you, Pavilion Master, are in great need of this pearl shell bracelet, then it should naturally be gifted to you. After all, holding on to it ourselves wouldn't bring out its greatest value, and it would only end up as a mediocre piece of jewelry. Only in your hands, Pavilion Master, can its greatest value be realized. Lin Zikin was flattering Qi Qingmo, almost as if he wanted to elevate her to the heavens. Pleasing such a powerhouse ensured his own safety. He ought to SW_your loyalty to her, no wait, it should be to SW_your her in as a godmother. Perhaps then, he could walk horizontally across the earth. You two are really good kids. Qi Qingmo looked at the two before her, a touch of gratification spreading across her face, then she said, in a while, when I enter the origin land to find a way out, I will collect more evolution resources for you. Thank you, Pavilion Master. Thank you, Pavilion Master, Lin Zikin and Shen Qinghan thanked her one after another. Qi Qingmo smiled and said, I should be thanking you too, for not only supplying me with Qi blood, but also for bringing me this bracelet filled with spiritual energy, truly a timely gift. With this pearl shell bracelet, she had full confidence to venture into the unknown land of the origin land, unafraid of any adversary. She believed that no matter how unknown the origin land was, the creatures that primarily utilized origin force there wouldn't be more powerful than the ones from the era of spiritual energy she came from. As long as she could operate her spiritual power to its peak, she would surely be able to dominate the origin land. At the very least, she would be able to retreat unharmed, not worried about getting stuck there. Pavilion Master, with this bracelet, do you still need to consume Lin Zi's blood? Shen Qinghan hesitated a moment before asking. Qi Qingmo, no, that's not the case, what must be drawn still needs to be drawn. Spiritual energy diminishes with each use, I won't use it unless absolutely necessary. If I can maintain my vitality with Qi blood, then it's best to use up the Qi blood to sustain life, no need to waste the hard-to-come by nature's spiritual energy. Oh, I see, Shen Qinghan nodded. Soon after, she asked again, Pavilion Master, may I ask how powerful you are? She was curious about Qi Qingmo's biological level. She wanted to know if the Tianren Pavilion Lord was an epic level creature, a legendary level creature, or perhaps a mythical level creature. Facing Shen Qinghan's question, Qi Qingmo corrected her seriously, don't casually ask about someone's level, it's offensive, you know. Shen Qinghan sheepishly admitted her mistake at lightning speed. Sorry, I won't do it again. Qi Qingmo did not dwell on the topic. With a thought, she took back the bronze ancient coffin she had taken out earlier. Afterwards, she said to the two of them, I won't rest now, I need to go to Shuangra Bay to look for that underwater relic. As soon as she finished speaking, she flashed in form and instantly disappeared from their sight. Lin Ziyi, do you think the Pavilion Lord can find that underwater relic? Shen Qinghan asked curiously. Lin Zikan shook his head, not sure, we'll have to wait for the Pavilion Lord to come back to find out. Lin Ziyi, I didn't sleep all night yesterday, I'm so tired. Shen Qinghan yawned while speaking somewhat languidly, aren't you tired? Do you want to catch up on some sleep with me? Lin Zikan, I'm indeed a bit tired too, let's catch up on some sleep together, and after we wake up, we can head to the institute. The two then went to the restroom to wash their faces. They then returned to their room to lie down on the bed and sleep. Having not slept all night, both of them almost immediately fell asleep as soon as they lay down. At 1 p.m., the sun was shining brightly. Lin Zikan and Shen Qinghan woke up from bed, quickly fried some exotic beast meat, sliced some exotic fruit, ate in a few bites, and then headed out to the institute. When the two arrived at the institute, Lu Chuanwu and Song Yuan were both sitting on yoga mats, intensely focusing on attacking their acupoints, trying to evolve into high-level creatures as soon as possible with the bodies of pure-blood humans. As for Ma Ziwei, she was sitting on another side quietly learning how to control Qi blood. Thinking about the embarrassing incident that happened that morning, Lin Zikan couldn't help but look towards Song Yuan, his gaze unintentionally landing on her round and full curves. Song Yuan, this mixed blood beauty, indeed had a sizzling figure. If Shen Qinghan's figure was pure, then Song Yuan's figure was indecent, just a glance could hook any man's eyes. It left a deep impression on Lin Zikan. Can doing yoga every morning really shape such a curvaceous figure? Lin Zikan considered Song Yuan's figure, thinking this to himself. At that moment, he sort of wanted Shen Qinghan to follow Song Yuan in doing yoga every morning to shape a more graceful figure. While he was thinking about all these irrelevant things, Song Yuan, sitting on the yoga mat and attacking her acupoints, suddenly opened her eyes. As soon as she opened her eyes, she caught him openly assessing her figure. Her pretty face instantly blushed, feeling uncomfortable. Right before, her mind was full of thoughts about attacking acupoints. Now, however, it was filled with Lin Zikan and his gaze. Her heart was completely flustered. Seeing her face blush like a peach, Lin Zikan realized his staring was inappropriate and hurriedly shifted his gaze away from her, no longer looking. Weeding in the tiny garden. Driving stakes diligently in the tiny garden. Collecting dew in the tiny garden. Suddenly, a rather irreverent ringtone rang out. It was Lu Chuanwu's phone ringing. On hearing the ringtone, Lu Chuanwu, who was sitting on the yoga mat, immediately picked up the phone to answer the call. Who is it? Delivery. I didn't order a delivery. After briefly chatting with the other party, Lu Chuanwu hung up the phone, muttering, strange, why would there suddenly be a delivery for me, could it be from an old flame? After speaking, he turned to Ma Ziwei beside him and said with a smile, Wai Wei, could you please help me fetch the delivery from the front door? Now that the institute had more members, he, as the director, didn't want to do everything by himself, aiming to maintain a bit of director-like prestige. Sure, I'll go get it now. Ma Ziwei said, and got up to walk toward the entrance. P.S. Bowls out, seeking monthly pass recommendations. Chapter 359, 216, Love Immortal Master? Love Heretic Cultivator. Less than 2 minutes had passed. Ma Ziwei, who had gone to the door to retrieve a package, returned carrying a large cardboard box. Lin Zikan glanced at the cardboard box, his gaze falling upon the slip pasted on top of it. The sender was anonymous. It was impossible to tell what was being sent. Lu Chuanyu stepped forward, took the cardboard box from Ma Ziwei's arms, and said with bewilderment, "Who would go through all this trouble to be so secretive?" With this question in mind, Lu Chuanyu brought the cardboard box to the table, tore off the sealing tape, and was about to open it. It was the moment he tore off the sealing tape. Lin Zikin's expression suddenly changed, and he quickly spoke out to stop him. "President, don't open the box, it's dangerous." Danger perception was throbbing violently. Opening the cardboard box would bring about enormous danger. Hearing this, Lu Chuanyu stopped and immediately stepped back from the box to create distance. The others, seeing this, also retreated. "Ziai Chen, what's wrong with this box?" Song Yuan looked at Lin Zikin, asking uneasily. Lin Zikin's expression was grave. "I don't know, but I just sensed danger." With that said, he focused his mind, levitated the box through the air, intending to toss this unknown dangerous cardboard box out of the research institute before dealing with it. But at the moment the box rose into the air, an accident happened. The surface of the cardboard box suddenly sprouted vivid blood-red buds at a speed visible to the naked eye. No sooner had these buds appeared than they instantly matured and bloomed, releasing a plethora of red pollen. "You are suffering from an erosion by the flower poison of a high-level exotic plant, Red Matchmaker, poison resistance +1+1+1+1+1+1. Along with this prompt, Lin Zikin felt his body losing sensation. He had been poisoned, but with the blessing of immunity to 100 poisons. His sensory perception recovered completely in the next second. "Hold your breath, don't inhale the pollen." Realizing that the pollen was toxic, Lin Zikin immediately warned the others around him. At the same time, using the storage space biometric attribute, he collected his thoughts and stored the cardboard box inside, addressing this security threat for the time being. On the other side, the few individuals nearby had already held their breath, not inhaling even a speck of the pollen. However, the red pollen didn't need to be inhaled, it could immediately incapacitate the prey just by contacting the skin. In less than 2 seconds, everyone except Lin Zikin, one after another, collapsed to the ground, poisoned by the pollen, unable to stand up again. They were merely weak in the limbs, yet still conscious. "What's going on? Who's attacking us?" Song Yuan asked, filled with unrest. Lu Chuanyu remained comparatively calm, judging by this tactic, it's almost certainly divine plant cult's doing. "Lin Ziai, the divine plant cult's target is you, run quickly, don't worry about us," Shen Qinghan said urgently. Ma Ziwei, lying beside her, wanted to say something too, but her vocal cords were paralyzed, and she was unable to speak. Lin Zikin stood still, not leaving his colleagues behind. He knew he could not escape. His parents were here, and so was Shen Qinghan. If he were a person from Divine Plant Cult, once they failed to capture the target, they would surely go after the family. Quiet the mind. Focus the spirit. The spiritual realm unfolded in an instant. With the effect of advanced spirit, Lin Zikin dispersed his spiritual power to cover the whole Shanghai University, scanning every corner. He first scanned for his own parents and those of Shen Qinghan. Thankfully, both sets of parents were safe and sound. Lin Yanzheng and Zhang Wangzhen were watching TV in the living room. Shen Jianyi and Su Meng were napping in their room. The parents were okay, which was a relief. But at this moment, Lin Zikin's brows were deeply furrowed, and there was no relaxation in him. He had scanned the entire Shanghai University. Yet there were no abnormalities to be found. There was no sense of any exotic plants. Could it be someone other than Divine Plant Cult? Lin Zikin was somewhat doubtful for a moment. However, he did not let his guard down. Continuously dispersing his spiritual power, he repeatedly sensed every corner within his realm. Several seconds later, he detected 7 powerful energy bodies in the direction of the administrative building, swiftly approaching the research institute. Upon closer inspection, he saw they were all faculty members of the school. Leading them was the director of academic affairs of the school. The remaining 6 were instructors from Evolution College. Just after an incident in the lab, or rather, right after the cardboard box was handled, these 7 people from the Academic Affairs Office immediately rushed towards the Research Institute. Without looking, it was clear that there was something off about these 7 people. With that thought, Linziken did not stay in the Research Institute waiting for doom. He headed immediately toward the populated teaching building. He possessed social animal, a special biometric attribute. The more Earthlings there were within a certain range, the stronger he became. Alas! He had barely burst out of the Research Institute when the Director of Academic Affairs, who had suddenly sped up, blocked his path. "Lin student, why are you running so fast in the school? Is there some kind of emergency?" Josiah Y., the Director of Academic Affairs, asked in the tone of a school leader. Linziken did not respond but instead took a quick step forward and threw a fierce punch at the other party. Josiah Y. did not expect him to strike suddenly, but he did not panic, just slightly sidestepped and easily dodged the sudden punch. So strong! He's a rare level fighter. Linziken was shocked internally, and immediately his heart sank to the bottom. He couldn't understand how the mere director of academic affairs from the school could have a biological level as high as rare level. Buzz! Buzz! Chapter 360, 216, Love Immortal Master? Love Heretic Cultivator, _2. Buzz! Suddenly, a piercing whooshing sound arose. A large number of vines burst forth from the surrounding greenery, shooting towards Linziken like arrows. Linziken tried to dodge, but it was too late to avoid them. He had only just moved when, in the next second, dozens of vines tightly entwined him, rendering him immobilized. "Quite perceptive, attacking the moment you saw me without any hesitation." Josiah Y., observing Linziken bound tightly by the vines, couldn't help but smile in appreciation. Linziken furrowed his brows. "I never expected that Teacher Joe would actually be a traitor from the divine plant cult." Josiah Y. laughed. "I don't call it being a traitor, I call it seeing the world clearly. You, on the other hand, are remnants of feudal thinking, not understanding what survival means." After speaking, he instructed the 6 people who were following behind him, "You 6, go to the institute and take all the members of Tianren Pavilion. Especially Director Song, make sure to bring her to my bed. I've longed to taste her for a while now." "Yes." The 6 men responded in unison. They then quickly dashed towards the institute, not wasting even a second. Watching the backs of the 6 men as they left, Josiah Y.'s eyes filled with excitement. As the director of the Academic Affairs Office, he had usually targeted any beautiful female instructors over the years. Using the simplest methods of threats and inducements, almost all the powerless and beautiful female instructors at Shan University became his playthings. Except for Song Yuan. She was the only female instructor who had joined Tianren Pavilion that he had not managed to seduce. Song Yuan was too detached, never thinking about promotions or raises, focusing only on her work in the institute, which had made it impossible for him to make a move over the years. Today, he had chosen to be forceful. He planned to take all these people from Tianren Pavilion back to their headquarters in Origin Land, and then he could do whatever he wanted with Song Yuan. Not just with Song Yuan but also with Yuan Dongji. This beauty who often paraded in front of him in a cheongsam, he would eventually have his way with her too. Once he had taken Linziken back to Origin Land, completed this great achievement, and received abundant evolution resources to greatly enhance his own power, he would capture Yuan Dongji to satisfy his lust. Meanwhile, seeing Josiah Y. distracted by his fantasies, Linziken instantly used the Forest Lord to control the vines on his body, loosening their grip. Instantly, he dashed towards the 6 men heading for the institute. He had to kill these 6 men first, to prevent Shen Qinghan and others at the institute from being taken away. Then he would deal thoroughly with Josiah Y., figuring out a way to defeat this heretic of the divine plant cult who had been hiding at Shanghai University for many years. Buzz! A whooshing sound suddenly emanated from behind. Josiah Y had made his move. His body transformed into a blur, instantly appearing in front of Lin Zikin, whiplashing a thorn-covered vine at Lin Zikin. Lin Zikin's reaction was extremely fast. He leaped straight up to dodge the whip. He then stretched out his hand towards the 6 people ahead, expelled chi blood from his fingertips, shooting it like bullets towards the 6 men. Puff! 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 A series of muffled sounds echoed. The expelled chi blood precisely struck the hearts of the 6 men and quickly destroyed the life structures within their bodies, completely extinguishing their life forces. Witnessing his 6 subordinates instantly killed, Josiah Y's face was filled with shock, disbelieving the scene before his eyes. But he didn't remain shocked for long, soon recovering and attacking Lin Zikin. He attacked with full force, unleashing a rare-level biological pressure with a boom, pinning Lin Zikin to the ground, immobilizing him. To withstand the poison of the blood oath flower and even control vines, your body harbors too many unbelievable abilities. No wonder the headquarters specifically planned to capture you, Josiah Y said, looking down at him from a heightened position, a look of disbelief on his face. Lin Zikin struggled to break free from Josiah Y's biological pressure, but no matter how much he exerted himself, he couldn't move an inch. The rare-level biological pressure was too strong. Being pressed on by a high-level creature, it was like the mountain placed on the Monkey King by the Buddha himself, a total dimensional suppression. No. I can't just sit here and face death. If strength is not enough, I can still use my brain, there must be a way to escape. Lin Zikin's thoughts spun at high speed. In less than 2 seconds, he thought of a way to escape. The suppression was from the top down. It made him immobile. Since he couldn't break free upwards, he considered breaking free downwards. Yes. Break free downwards. I have the Forest Lord, I can manipulate the underground plant root system to aid my escape. Thinking this, Lin Zikin quietly controlled the plant root system underground. He would use these root systems to hollow out the soil beneath him, creating a chance to escape. Meanwhile, to distract and bide time, Lin Zikin put all his strength into barely opening his mouth to speak. With such strength, what exactly is your identity? I am the 8th elder of the divine plant cult. Josiah Y said with a smile that wasn't quite a smile. He didn't care about his identity being exposed because, after today's deed, he would go back to the divine plant cult's headquarters in Origin Land. The 8th elder of the divine plant cult? Lin Zikin was immensely surprised. The 9th elder of the divine plant cult who had appeared in the coastal forest had been overpowering Yuan Dongji, a rare 3rd order. And the man in front of him, the director of academic affairs, was actually the 8th elder of the divine plant cult?